Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video, I will show you how you can call a network REST API in Control Center widget for iOS in Expo React Native app. So let's get started. Now, if you're watching this for the very first time, I have already made a video on how to share state between Expo React Native app as well as Control Center. So if you haven't watched that video yet, do check that video out. So yeah, here we will be mostly writing Swift UI and Swift code because a control center widget cannot be created with React Native code or TypeScript code. That has to be written with Swift UI. So yeah, let's get started. So first, as usual, you will have to go to this particular documentation to create a Expo React Native project. Now you can use whatever template you feel like from this. I will be using this blank TypeScript template because it has less boilerplate code and it also has TypeScript support. But yeah, feel free to use whatever you feel like. So I'll just paste this particular command. Now it is asking me for an app name. I will just give it as my app. Okay, I think I already have a folder name my app, so I'll just run this again. I will just name it different. I will just name it as my app 2. Now it will create a project for us. Now unfortunately, the problem with this project is it does not create the native iOS folder for us. To create the native iOS folder, you will have to go to this particular URL, which I will just show it to you. So here you will have to select iOS device. Here you will have to select development build, and I have disabled ES because I will be building locally. I have already installed Xcode as well as Xcode command line tools. I have already done this brief installation of Watchman. Then we have to run this particular command. So I'll just copy this and let's just wait for this project to get complete. Okay, so it has created my project. Now I can just cd to my app 2. Okay, and I'll just paste this particular command. So this will again install few dependencies. So let's just wait for this to finish. Then I'll just copy this particular command as well. So let's just wait. Okay, now I can paste it. Now this will actually create the iOS folder for us. Also it needs to install a bunch of dependencies using CocoaPods. So this will take little bit of time, so just be patient. So let's just wait for this to finish. Now by the time this CocoaPod installation is done, I want to show you the API which I will be calling. So this is the API which I have. Now don't try to use this API inside your own project. You can use your own API. So this is the API which I have created, and by the time you watch the video, I will be like removing this API altogether, so it will not work for you. So use your own API. So here you can see once I call this API, it returns me a random number. So yeah, that's what I have kept the response simple just for simplicity sake. If I refresh it again, here you can see I get another random number. Refresh it again, I get another random. So we will be basically calling this particular API inside our project. Now what I can do is I can just remove this cheat sheet. I don't want it, and I can just go to my Expo application. I'll just open it inside VS Code. I mean, honestly, there is no point in opening it inside VS Code because like I mentioned, we won't be writing any TypeScript code. Everything has to be done via Swift and Swift UI. But I just wanted to show you. Here you can see it has created the iOS folder. The CocoaPod installation is still going on, but as you can see, it has created the iOS folder. We don't need to create any native iOS module as such, because we won't be writing any native code for our application. We will be writing native code for our control center widget. So let's just wait for this to finish, and then we'll do the next step. Alright, so my CocoaPod installation was done, and now Expo is asking me to run it on a device. I won't run it now because we haven't written any code. So I will just do Control C. Alright, then you will have to go to your Expo project. I will go to my app 2. I will go to iOS, and here I will just double click on this .exe workspace. It will automatically open it in Xcode for us. So let's just wait. Now all the changes which I am doing, make sure you do it via Xcode only. Don't try to do it via VS Code. You will face a lot of issues as well. So here I will just click on File, New, Target. Make sure iOS is selected, and here I can just search for widget. Here we have selected widget extension. I'll click on next, and here I will just name it as, I don't know, my Expo widget. You can name it whatever you feel like. Important thing is you have to check this include control as well as include configuration app intent checkbox. You can uncheck this include live activity as we are not really using that. Then I will just click on finish. Let's just wait, and I'll click on activate as well. uh, let's just wait a bit more. Okay, so it has created it, I think so. If I go to my app 2, here you can see it has created it. Also here I will just select my app 2 again, so that while running it runs our entire app and not just the widget. Then this is my widget, right? So I can just right click over here. Also I think the minimum deployment target for control center widget is iOS 18, I guess. But yeah, you can just check on that. So first we'll create a Swift file for our API service, which will basically call the API. It will be a singleton, so I'll just right click new empty file, and I will name it as API service. Again, like I mentioned, do not create this file via VS Code, create all these files via Xcode only. So first we have created this API service file. Alright, then I have just pasted the code over here. So first, as you can see, we have this API response which will give us the random number. You will have to change it to your own API response, whatever you get. For me it is random number key, and the data type is of type end. Then here we are creating an API service class. So this is basically a singleton. Here it should be your own base URL. Then we created a method called fetch random number, and here we convert it to a proper URL as well. Then we just do URL session.shared.data, passing our URL, and we will get data as well as response. Then I'm just checking over here if the status code is 200 or not. If yes, then only proceed. Then we just do JSON decoder.decode, pass our API response to it, and pass our data as well, and then we return the decoded response back. Okay, so that's about it. Next we need to create a custom provider as well. I will tell you why exactly we are doing that once we try to use it. So again, right click new empty file and give the name as my custom provider. So you can give it name as my custom provider over here. All right, then you can just go to my Expo widget control, and here instead of app intent control configuration, you have to write static control configuration. Okay, then here we have to use our my custom provider as well. So I will just replace this with my custom provider. We haven't written the code for it, but here we are using my custom provider. So every time you click on the widget, it will automatically call the API, because we'll write inside my custom provider, we'll write the code. So every time you like click on the control center widget, it will automatically trigger this my control custom provider code. So that's what we are doing over here. Inside my custom provider, we'll have to paste this particular code. So here we are importing widget kit, then we are extending from control value provider. Here you have to create a variable with a name of preview value only. You can't name it something different. So I don't know why we have to name it preview value, but make sure you name it as preview value only. And this is the data type for it. You can change the data type to whatever you feel like, but keep the variable name same. In my case, I'm getting the response in integer format, that's why I'm using int data type. Then here this is the method which we are overriding from control value provider, and here we just do try await API service dot shared dot fetch random number dot random number. So here we are creating the singleton of the API service class. It has a method called fetch random number, and it will return the random number from the response. So that's what we are returning back. All right, next we need to create a file called increment intent. So again, I will just right click new file. This file is necessary because inside our main code we will be creating a button, and every button requires some kind of an action. So this is how we create an action for a button inside control center widget. So I'll just paste this code. Now you have to import app intent. You can write the title whatever you feel like, change this to whatever you feel like, and this particular method is imported like overridden from this app intent. So uh, this particular method automatically gets called once our button is clicked. So, but we don't want to do anything on our button click. So I'm just returning the result back, because this, if you notice, this my Expo control widget will automatically get called like whenever we click on the control center widget, it will automatically call this my custom provider. So we don't want to add an extra action on our button click as well. It might get confused, so that's why. Now uh, like at least at the time of me recording this video, there are only two types of Swift UI widgets which you can use for control center. One is control widget toggle, second is control widget button. So we will be using control widget button in our case because control widget toggle does not make any sense. So I'll just comment this particular part out. Inside your control center widget, you will have to actually write this bit of code. So here you can see I'm using this control widget button. It has an action of increment intent. That's why we created that particular file. Inside this text, we are just displaying the value whatever we get from our API. So our API will return the value over here, and this will my custom provider will help us to get that particular value. And here I'm just displaying an image. It is not necessary. If you want, you can display it, otherwise keep it as it is. I'll just improve the indentation a little. Now we can just run our application and let me then show you guys the output. Okay, so here is the output. Now we don't need to do anything on the app side, so I'll just quickly dismiss this. This is pretty much useless. Okay, now what we can do is we can just drag this particular screen and click on this plus button, click on add a control, and here you will have to select this my app to, or whatever app name you have given for your Expo app. So this was my name, and I will just drag it a little, not like this but from the corner, and here you can see this value is coming from our API. Now I'll just click somewhere else. So our control center widget is ready. Now if I click on our control center widget, here you can see value is 84, value is 95, value is 64. So yeah, that's how we can call network API inside control center widget for Expo React Native. That's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.